Witchcraft secrets unveiled in shadows. Scary story. The Witch of the Alley. Halloween is a curious holiday. It has never been clear to me what it is that we are supposed to celebrate. It is the day of the witches, and I don't know about the others, but at least I don't practice witchcraft. The only thing witches and I have in common is a taste for cats. I have always liked cats. Zoe was the name of my first pet. He was an orange cat with gray and brown spots. My parents gave him to me when I was only 3 years old. After I entered elementary school, they gave me a yellow cat with black and white stripes, Ava, soon after they had their first litter. They had 8 cats. I was 9 years old. My head was not enough to invent so many names for my new cats. So what I did was to take advantage that all the cats had different color mixtures. I named each one according to the color that was more present in their fur. The one I liked the most was white. He was a fluffy cat, almost completely white, and on the top of his head he had a wide M of black fur simulating a hat. There were 2 brown cats, but one was light brown with dark spots, and the other was dark brown with light stripes. I called them Light and Dark. The same happened with the yellowish cats. The one with the darker abundant tonality I called Gold, and the one with the lighter abundant tonality I called Yellow. The female cats were called Orange, Gray, and Dark, so as not to call them black. My parents made the decision to spay all 4 cats, Ava and her 3 kittens, because having 10 cats running around the house was a disaster. When I turned 15 years old, Zoe died of old age. Because of that, Ava fell into a strong sadness. She deteriorated little by little, and after 2 months, she also died. Those cats had accompanied me for too many years. I literally spent all my childhood playing with them. It was a very hard blow. Blanco realized that I was going through a very bad time and became very attached to me. He would wake me up to go to school, wait for me to eat, play with my feathers while I did my homework, and fall asleep next to my bed. It was when I entered high school that strange things began to happen. The school was close to me, a 10-minute walk, and to get there, I had to pass in front of a dark alley of which many bad things were said. There was a homeless man that we all called the Machudo. He was always walking around the block where the alley was, and although everyone said that he was missing a screw, it didn't seem so to me. He always knew the day of the week, the date of the month. He even knew the time almost exactly. During the day, he was guided by the sun, but at night, I have no idea how he knew the time. He also knew the names of everyone in the colony. He seemed a saner person, smarter, and with a better memory than me. The reason people said he was crazy was because of the things he said about the alley. The Machudo had slept inside that alley for years, but stopped doing so when, according to what he told, a very strange old woman had arrived. She seemed to be another homeless woman just like him. At first they had no problems, but the Machudo began to notice strange and frightening behaviors in that old woman. She talked to flies, cockroaches, and mice. In fact, the homeless man said that on one occasion, He heard one of the mice talk back to the old woman, and that was the reason why he stopped sleeping in the alley, because he was afraid of the old woman. The strange thing was that no one had ever seen the supposed old woman, who, according to the Mekudo, was a dirty and evil witch. But even though everyone judged the vagabond as mentally ill, there were dark rumors about that alley. Situations like that when it rained the water did not fall inside the alley, or that everyone who entered never came out again. It was also said that at 3 o'clock in the morning lights could be seen in the depths of the alley and other things. The first time I noticed something strange was on October 7th. I remember it perfectly well because my parents had given me permission to go to the party of a friend who lived 2 blocks away from the high school. It was midnight. I, along with 3 friends who were my neighbors, were returning from the party. The street where the alley was had at least 8 lamps. 7 of them worked. The only one that never turned on was the one that was placed in front of the alley. The Witch of the Alley. It was scary. In fact, we crossed to the other side of the sidewalk so as not to go near it. Then a rather large rat ran out from one of the houses. A small breed dog was after the rat, and a little girl was after the dog. The rat and the dog went into the alley. The girl was about to do the same, but 2 of my friends grabbed her to keep her out. We told her that the alley was very dangerous and that the best thing to do was to go back to her house and wait for her dog to come back. Fortunately, we were able to convince her, and she went away from there. We each went back to our homes, but a few days later, a rumor began to spread in the high school that a girl had gone into the alley, and when she came out, she was crazy. It was evident that, if the rumor was true, it was surely the girl who owned the dog that had entered the alley while chasing a rat. For several days, the rumor was supplemented with new information. It was said that the girl had returned home while carrying only the skin of her dog, went straight to her room, sat on the edge of the bed, and began to say that inside the alley there was a witch who ate the animals and left only the skin. No matter what question she was asked, the answer was always the same. That's why she was said to have gone crazy. My cats were much of a street cat. After that rumor, I tried to keep them always inside the house. In fact, on Saturdays and Sundays, when I hardly went out, I kept all the doors and windows closed to prevent my cats from being outside. The second week of October, something else began to be said about the same girl. According to some colleagues, the girl and her family had moved house. They had gone to another neighborhood to be as far away as possible from that alley. At first, I didn't believe it, but a few days later, while returning from high school, I met a girl who caught my attention. She was wearing her high school uniform. She was from the same high school I had been in. I approached her and asked her a silly question about one of the teachers. I made her laugh. Then I introduced myself and told her that I had not seen her before in the neighborhood. She told me that her family had just rented a house nearby. They had gotten a good price because the owners were in a hurry to leave. That confirmed what was said in high school. But at that moment, I didn't pay too much attention. I had been impressed with the girl. I asked her if I could accompany her home, and she said yes. The next day, I went back to see her and so on for a few days. On Saturday, I had gone out to buy kibble for my cats. The supermarket was 5 blocks behind the high school. I was just going there when I happened to pass by the girl's house. She came out. She looked amazing. I asked her if she wanted to go for a walk for a while, and she said yes. I was very obvious in my intentions, and she noticed. We were down the alley when she stopped and told me that she had a boyfriend, and therefore there was no way we were anything more. However, she told me that we could go into the alley for just 5 minutes, and that would be the only thing that would happen between us. I didn't know what to say. She told me it was a one-time offer, so I accepted. She took out her cell phone and set the timer for 5 minutes. It was worth it to risk going into that alley. The 5 minutes passed. We thought no one had seen us. But when we set foot outside the alley, the first thing we encountered was the curious and frightened look of the Machudo. The homeless man shouted at us. His words were, "The witch saw everything." We didn't know how to react. She went home, and I went to the supermarket. When I came back with my cats, they looked at me strangely. In fact, the white cat didn't even want to approach me. It was strange to me, but I ignored them and started texting with the girl. On October 23 our day, in the morning, I found my brown cat with dark spots dead. It was on one of my tennis shoes. I didn't understand what had happened. It was a healthy cat. The next day, it was the yellow cat. His eyes had dried up. I found him inside one of the drawers of my closet, specifically the one where I kept my socks. One more day, and another dead pet. It was the orange cat. I found her in the washing machine room. All her fur had fallen off. It was too much to find my pets dead for 3 days in a row. It could not be a mere coincidence. Something was happening. I considered that they had been poisoned, but after analyzing it for a while, I realized that this could not be the answer, because then my cats should have died in the same way, and it was not like that. The next day, I found the corpse of the gray cat, and by October 29, I only had the white cat left. I could not risk losing it. It was the only pet I had left, and therefore it was the last memory of my first cat. So, even though the next day there were classes, I decided not to go. I had to protect my cat. On October 30, I was watching him all day. I noticed strange things, like that his look had changed, not in a very radical way. His look had always been deep, but that day it seemed to be empty, as if something inside had been ripped out of him, as if he knew that the next one to die would be him. That day he spent it marking the places where my mother had religious objects. He never marked the objects as such, only the place where they were placed. He was also going to all the corners, a lot. He walked all around the edge of the house, and every time he came to a corner, he would stay there for a few moments and then continue walking the walls of the house. I didn't see him play even once the whole day. He didn't eat either. He only drank water, lots and lots of water, and all the time, as if the cat was too hot. I was clearly very worried. I had no money to take him to the vet. What scared me the most was that he would die without me being able to help him. I stayed awake all night. My cat did not die. As soon as the sun came up, in the middle of the witch's day, I grabbed my cat and went to see the healer. I was hoping that at least she could tell me what was going on. Everyone knew about the curandera. Curandera was a very, very old woman. No one ever knew her age, but my grandmother said that when that woman came to live in the neighborhood, she already looked about 60 years old. At that time, my mother was not yet born, and by the time all this happened, my mother was already 40 years old. That meant that the old curandera was at least 100 years old. As soon as I entered the old woman's house, my white cat became very restless and also aggressive. He attacked me with his claws and even bit my hand. My cat definitely did not want to be there. The healer immediately noticed the strange attitude of the cat and quickly approached me to grab the cat with force. The white cat seemed to want to attack her, but she stopped his claws with one hand without much effort. She took him to her table and tied him by his two hind legs. My cat struggled and made strange noises, as if he was threatening us. I was getting scared. The old woman asked me where I had taken the animal from. I told her that I had been with him for many years and told her everything that had happened with the rest of my pets. The healer was restless. She asked me if before my cat started to die, I had approached a place or a person charged with negative energy. Then my memory clicked. I told her that I had gone into the alley for 5 minutes to be alone with a girl. Then I remembered that the sneakers in which I had found one of my cats dead were the same sneakers I was wearing when I went into the alley. Another of the cats I had found in the sock drawer. They were the ones I had taken with me that day. And another cat I had found in the washing machine room. There was the t-shirt I had on that time, because I had not washed it yet. The healer explained to me that those 5 minutes inside the alley had been enough for the dark energy of the place to adhere to my clothes. She said that the cats had not died just for the sake of it, but that they had sacrificed themselves for me. They had absorbed all the negative energy to free me, so I would not die. The healer told me that the good news was that I didn't have to worry about me, but the bad news was that if she didn't expel all that negative energy from my cat, he would die in a matter of hours. While she was preparing everything to practice a ritual on my cat, I asked her if, by any chance, she knew what was really going on with that alley. The healer told me that inside that alley lived a very old witch who no longer had the strength to do any work, and that she only continued to live because she fed on live animals. She said that dogs were the ones that gave her more vitality, and that is why she sent rats to the houses to attract those animals. When I had all the things ready, she told me that there was no guarantee that I would survive the process, but she also told me that if I didn't try it, it was 100% sure that my cat would die. So I told the healer that she could do whatever it took to save my cat. The old woman went to pick up a rather peculiar candle. It was black and thin. It was twisted. It looked like a branch. She told me to help her hold the cat and not to let go no matter what. I just nodded my head. I grabbed my white cat by the front paws, leaving him completely immobile. Then the healer started to pass the black candle near my cat's stomach. My pet screamed a lot, and very loudly. He even started to cry. Suddenly he started coughing as if he was about to vomit. I was getting disgusted when I saw the most disturbing thing anyone could imagine. My white cat started to have cockroaches and worms coming out of his mouth, and also a thick gray liquid with foam that smelled like a drain. It was horrifying and disgusting. Candle went out, and I understood that I could let my cat go. So I did, and immediately I began to quickly remove the cockroaches and worms that I had on my hands and arms. Then I vomited. My cat was very weak. I could see it on his face. The healer told me that the only thing left was to wait a few days to see if my cat would recover. She told me that meanwhile, I should only give him apple cider vinegar, no food or water. After 10 days, my white cat was fine. Thank you for joining us for this spine-tingling story. We hope you found it both thrilling and thought-provoking. If you enjoyed this video, please consider participating in our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with your friends. Your support goes a long way in helping us create more engaging content for you. Goodbye, and may you always tread carefully in the world of the unknown.